All right, we're here. It's Tuesday. What an amazing Tuesday. Did we all see the legal decision? Would you like to hear about the legal decision? All right, notify the people. It says viewers must be 18 or older to recharge and send gifts. Yeah, I don't need minors sending me gifts. That's another way of income that we don't participate here in Special Education Academy. So come on in, come on in. That's what that one guy says. I like when people say, I'll wait till people hop on. Does that mean like the people that are here are not good enough? We don't believe that. So just want to talk about, yay, that the High Court decision for Perez was a landslide today. I was so excited. And so I have the blessing of being able to represent families in Texas in due process hearings. And one of the things that is a big deal that we have to do as parents move up their legal options is that there's a legal requirement that you must exhaust all of your remedies, under IDEA before you can file for charges, for punitive charges under ADA. And it was just kind of overturned today. So it's so exciting. So it's very exciting. So Perez, so if you want to look it up, it is Perez, P-E-R-E-Z, versus Sturgis Public Schools, S-T-U-R-G-I-S. And the decision today was unanimous on March 21st, 2023. So this is exciting. So if you guys have questions, just ask them in the question area. Did I just say that? Ask them in the question area. My hair looks different tonight. Oh, I just had it done. So hopefully it looks clean. I pay for it to be clean. Does it look good, different, Tired Teacher 3? I hope it looks good, different. Because that is my goal, for it to look good, different. Oh my gosh, does Alicia have to put all those goofy pictures in there? She does. She just can't help herself, can she? So we're very excited about that decision. We are in the middle of March Madness, about to enter into April Anarchy, and then we'll slide into May Mayhem. So hang on, the last of the school year is coming to. Is that the little boy they closed the foot on in the door? That's a kiddo that I represent. Yay. Yeah. Hey, Gina. Gina, my front row A student. Hello, hello. So yes, so we the news story that went out was a little boy whose toe was crushed in the door. I love how the school district says that lady that assaulted him, hey Kiki, the lady that assaulted him, we didn't fire her. You know, if I had like busted open the toe of my child in my yard, I would have gone where? I think to jail. If I'd certainly done it in a place of business, I would have been fired. But we didn't fire that teacher in the school district. We just moved her somewhere else where she's not working with students. Oh, okay, that sounds great, because we'd rather keep our staff members who are criminals than fire them. So anyway, so Shannon, tell me the questions.
All right, our first question. Can a school district refuse a parent request for special education testing?
A school district can refuse a parent's request for initial testing for special education. Once a child is in special education, you can't deny the parent reevaluations if it's been over a year or if it's appropriate and they need them. But yes, a school district can deny you the evaluations. However, they have to provide you a robust prior written notice that has 7 components under IDEA. You want to make sure that you receive that.
If my child's school constantly ignores her 504 plan, what do I do?
You would do what I just did. You would call the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights and file a civil rights complaint, because your accommodations and your 504 are a civil right.
Okay, Melissa Wallace is asking, do you think the Perez decision will increase and or help OCR complaints?
So I think it will help parents. The process to get your child's services or to even be able to enter into some sort of negotiation process with a district is quite expensive. It's definitely weighted towards the school districts. And so there are parents that are retaliated against, and all that they go through for years and years and years, they absolutely should be able to file under ADA for punitive charges. I have a family that We just won our hearing. Rusty Webb, Clear Creek Independent School District, the decision, Texas Education Agency. We won the decision November 22nd, 2022. We have been going around with this district for 8 years. And in those 8 years, I negotiated 3 settlements of hundreds of hours of compensatory time. So this parent certainly deserves the right to file for punitive damages under ADA. I think it's an amazing decision.
What qualifies a student for a one-to-one para? Is there really a one-to-one para matrix?
Sure. I mean, what qualifies a student for a one-to-one para is that there is no way that they could be successful in a school setting without that support person. And so there are kiddos that require 2 adults to 1 student based on the acuity of their disability.
School is telling me it's too late in the year to request an IEP evaluation.
No, it's not. What does that mean? What is that? Where is that? We just make it up. It's too late in the year. I've never seen that under the IDEA. Oh, that's because it's not in there. So I would ask for that goofy response in a prior written notice. So here's what you say. Should you choose to deny me my request, please provide that denial in a prior written notice. Should you choose to deny that request, provide that denial in a prior written notice. It's too late in the year. What? Woo! I'm going to answer this one question. I'm sorry. I'm just jumping. So somebody said, where did you get that stat that 85% of the money in school district is spent at the administration level? So I've gotten it from a myriad of FOIA requests over the gazillion years that I've worked. So if you put in a FOIA request at your school district, Freedom of Information Act, and you can see the entire budget for the entire school district, you'd be surprised at the percentage of money that's spent on the administration level. So the people that work at admin, not at campuses, not teaching, not principals, not paraprofessionals, not teachers, and not special education teachers. Yeah.
Okay. Is it appropriate to call dyslexia a mental disorder?
So is it appropriate to call it a mental disorder? So dyslexia is medical in nature. I don't know if it's under the DSM-5 criteria, but as it relates to educational needs, it's an educational disability that shows up in students that might be served under general ed or special education.
How does it work when a private school asks for a student to get evaluated by my public school?
Sure. So when a student is in a school district, wherever that student is going to school, so if it's a school of faith or it's a private school, then that district has an onus, a responsibility, a duty to go and evaluate them at their school in their district.
What can I do about my son being physically harmed by others in his self-contained room?
So I would go back and call an IEP meeting and say that, this is not the proper setting for him. He shouldn't have to be afraid to go to school. We need to look at another setting or consideration for out-of-district placement at the district's expense. Thank you for the hearts and the gifts and the loves.
What to do when student with IEP has failing grades in multiple classes and teachers blame the student?
So, that's tricky. There are students who refuse their special ed services. There are students who refuse their accommodations. There are students who refuse their accommodations inside of their special education services. But sometimes it is a failure of the campus to either make adjustments, come back to the table, or see what we can do differently. I just sat in an IEP meeting yesterday, and literally the present level said the student made 0 gains on any IEP goals. 0. Like I wouldn't have typed that into the present levels, but the school district never called another IEP meeting. So if the student is being unsuccessful, the district has a responsibility to call a meeting and say, hey, Billy Smith is really struggling. What can we look at as a team, all team members, to see what we can make adjustments?
Do all the members of the IEP team have to stay during the meeting, or can they leave without warning?
Without warning. That's what most IEP meetings are, aren't they? They're like without warning. You've been in those meetings, right, Shannon? Just like, well, so the consensus members of the IEP, the stakeholders have to be there, right? So general ed, um, special education, somebody that can interpret and answer questions about evaluations, the LEA representative, which is usually a principal, assistant principal, or counselor if they have a certification, and then, of course, the parent of the student. If there are specific people that have shared their part of the meeting and all members have no more questions for them, then you can certainly, if they're a related or instructional service provider, we could certainly excuse them if the stakeholders agreed upon that.
Does the IEP require both parents' signature to provide consent for placement?
No, absolutely not.
I was told they only give a snapshot of the IEP to the teachers, not the whole document. Any advice?
That's what I've heard too. So that's one of the reasons that I'm very big on pulling open records, because what you will find is in the great month of August or whenever we come back, that we send out a thing called a teacher bundle. And that usually goes to the four or five. I'm doing good with that. 4 or 5 core classes. I've never seen it go to specials teachers, ancillary teachers, or electives teachers, which is kind of a problem because they teach the student. It's very rare that you'll find a district that provides the entire IEP with no barrier for the other school-based members to get to. That's unfortunate. But yeah, I would pull open records to see who actually received your students' documents.
I'm being told I cannot be a part of a disciplinary hearing. Is that allowed?
I assume that the person is the parent. So, of course, the parent of the student with a disability would be part of that.
Does the school need consent for an OT skills check or screener?
For a skills check, it sounds like fancy jargon. I don't know what a skills check is. Certainly if the OT just is sitting around doing nothing and they would like to give a skills check for the entire classroom, that's fine. An evaluation, whether it's informal, which is a screener, or formal, you must have consent from the parent or guardian.
Can a school principal superintendent change an IEP themselves? No meeting or communication.
Let's go ahead and go with the no. So IEPs can only be changed when the IEP team has considered data and options, options presented, options refused, options considered. But no one person gets to change an IEP document unilaterally. Unilaterally, that's a big word. That would be a problem. Like all that yelling in the back, I'm gonna have my fancy people address that. Oh, there's shh with the arm in the air. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna ask one more and then I'll pass it on to Laura.
Okay.
What to do when school says student is not disabled enough for services because grades are okay?
I would love that phrase to be typed out in a prior written notice. Not disabled enough is one of the most discriminatory statements you can say to somebody. How inappropriate and disrespectful. Grades do not make you eligible or ineligible for an IEP. The federal law says that we look at a child's unique circumstances. Grades are one sole point of that. Are we passing it on to the great Laura?
Sorry, I had to unmute. Can you explain manifestation meetings and what happens after?
They are meetings of people that sometimes need a bonk on the head. So manifestation, so an MDR, manifestation determination resolution meeting. So a student has a disability and they have a behavior or an action that warrants consideration of discipline. And this is sort of the short version. They can come, you can call one. I could call one for my client at maximum 10 days of suspension. And we sit down as a committee and we ask 2 questions. One, is the action a cause or a direct link to the student's disability, and or is it a link to the school not implementing the IEP? If the answer to either one of those questions is yes, then almost always a reasonable IEP committee would give the student a very reduced disciplinary response to that, because they are behaving based on a connection to their disability. It's not willful. So you want to make sure that you have representation when you go to an MDR, because it's really important that you get it right initially.
How long should you wait for the resource room teacher to send running records after you have asked?
I don't wait. So I don't even know what that word means. So I would just say I'll be in the office today at 3 to pick up the records. Thank you for making them available. Should they choose to not do that, then I can only assume that no records indicate that there are no records. And if we didn't keep any record of the student's success, needs, or failures, then we have a failure to implement the IEP or the 504.
How do I get my child tested for dyslexia?
So I would ask for a full and individualized evaluation for consideration for special education. I'd send an email and say, hey, this is my formal request for my child to be tested for special education. Areas of suspected disability or learning attention and academics. Please let me know when I can come in and sign notice and consent. Be sure that you ask for the cognitive evaluation to be in all 7 Gs. Those are brain skills. And that the formal achievement to include not only reading, writing, and math, but additionally listening comprehension and oral expression. If you solely ask for dyslexia, which I've told all of you to stop it, you're going to get a dyslexia evaluation. There are 9 specific learning disabilities. And if you just ask for dyslexia, you can't throw a fit if that's all that you get. Or,
how do I find out what exact specific learning disability my child has?
Just what I just said is you would get that full testing, the cognitive and all 7 Gs, and then the formal achievement to include written, reading, math, and learning, listening comprehension, and oral expression.
Does a long-term sub have to be certified in special education in preschool?
So in preschool, if there's a teacher for ECSE, early childhood special education, they are by nature of the job dual certified. So they would need to be a special ed teacher, but they are automatically dual certified. But if they're just a nice para or a nice human lady or a nice human man person, and they're just subbing, they're not teachers.
Specialized school keeps sending behavioral student home. How to request a behavior plan?
Well, first, I would document that you're calling me to pick him up because you don't have the ability to provide him an education. And I wouldn't just go pick him up. And so you need to make sure that that is occurring.
Should you meet for a 504 plan?
Should you meet versus not meet? Is this a trick question, Laura? Yeah, so I mean, if you have a 504 plan, you certainly want to attend that meeting.
How does an IEP work for homeschooling?
Homeschooling is not an individualized education program. So if you're wanting an IEP implemented at your home, that would only be in consideration for homebound.
Okay, I have one more and then I'm going to pass it on.
Okay.
How do you know when to order an FBA versus clinical eval?
So a clinical eval is not a requirement in an educational setting. If you want a clinical evaluation, that's certainly up to you. It doesn't have to be taken as data because you're not in a clinical setting at school. You're in an educational setting.
Okay, so I had one that we were emailed. So their child is about to go into kindergarten. They had, or maybe it's into pre-K, but they had the 3 to 5 outside services consult, and their annual's not due till November. Should they have an IEP meeting at the end of this year to have his schedule of services ready for when he starts school next year?
No, November is way past the first 9. That's like 12 weeks into the school year, so I would wait. Because he's just a little guy and his needs might change before then.
Okay. And then I have seen one a few times. That's what are the 7 G's, Karen?
They are amazing. So we have a training on the 7 G's. I would love to be able to tell you that I can rattle them off, but then I would miss some. So in Special Education Academy, we have a training on the 7 G's, and you can join the academy for free. And the great Alicia is going to tell you how to do that right now.
Yeah, so you're going to go to www.specialeducationacademy.com. I'm typing it into the chat. You're going to go to the training tab. It's the 4th option down. You're going to click on the academy. You're going to put all that information in, and at the bottom, right before you put your credit card information in, there'll be in little blue letters, have a coupon, ? And you're going to use the coupon, all caps, TikTok live. I just put that in the chat as well. And then you'll get 15 days for free.
Yep. Somebody just said the 7 Gs are only included in certain cognitive assessments. That's correct, but you can always supplement any cognitive assessment to get the totality of all 7 Gs. The 2 Gs that you would be missing if they just do the standard 5 Gs are long-term memory, which includes long-term storage and long-term retrieval, and auditory processing. Those are very important brain skills to know if there's a deficit or a need in that area. No, all cognitive assessments are not the same. Sort of like ex-husbands. Right, Shannon?
Do you have to go through the MTSS process to get an IEP? Last one, sorry.
You don't have to go through the MTSS process or the RTI process to get special education testing.
Okay.
Everybody should have one ex-husband. It's just such a good training ground. I just feel like.
An IE was done and student meets eligibility criteria that's different than what the school assessment said. Does the school give services?
So the IE is presented to the school, to the IEP team. They review it and they talk about what the conclusion was, and where, as a committee, the school-based members and the parents, if they agree with those conclusions, and choose to implement it.
In a school district, who should be the coordinator of 504s?
Somebody who likes children? Is that the wrong answer? So somebody who's trained in civil rights. I often would argue that the 504 coordinator is actually more important than the person who's in charge of special education. Usually it's an assistant principal, but somebody who's qualified. The website is specialeducationacademy.com.
Do you have to go through the MTSS process to get an IEP?
I feel like, did we just answer that question? So you don't have to go through any process to get an IEP. If you have testing and the student has a disability and they're in need of specially designed instruction, special education, and/or related services, then you get an IEP.
School is saying we can only talk to IEP case manager and not other IEP team members. Can they do that?
What do you mean you can only talk to certain IEP team members? What sort of banana head is that?
They're saying that they can only talk to the case manager and not the other team members.
Is that the parent saying that?
I believe so, yes.
So that would be a violation of your procedural rights. So 2 violations would be occurring. A, you're being denied meaningful participation in the IEP process. And B, you're being denied IEP team membership, which is something that I said today in a state that begins with the letter but there's a lot of states. It was like the bop.
I always love it when you sing.
Thank you. Did you want me to sing some more?
No. If a parent chooses not to send a child to ESY because of past experiences, will that void the IEP?
No, ESY is a gift. ESY is for maintenance. It's not intended to make anything progress. So it's either for a child that has documented regression on IEP goals with a profound amount of time to recoup them, or the second prong, which they never mention, concern for loss of critical skills. So certainly, if you're about to go on a 4-week cruise to the Greek islands, then we understand whatever part of ESY that you can attend, certainly take Somebody keeps asking the same question. If a child refuses accommodations like read aloud, what do? You hold them on the ground and tickle them until they say, okay, read aloud. No. If a child, doesn't want or to receive their accommodations and they tell you that, I would just notate it.
Can you have a 504 in an IEP?
Some silly places you can, but a 504 would be absorbed into the IEP. The components of a 504 would sit inside the IEP. If you had a behavior plan, it would go into the IEP. If you had accommodations, hopefully you do, it would go into the IEP. Somebody said, how stern should I get in the IEP tomorrow? Howard Stern. That's how stern you should get. But I'm here all night. Well, today, I won't tell you where Maine, the special ed director, this is what I said. Y'all ready? I said, the teacher said 4 people were rotating out for this kiddo in special ed. I said, what was the name of the teacher assistant? Well, that didn't go over very well. Why are you asking for that information? I said, so I could know, what kind of who's providing him an educational product. And then she came off the rails. So, bless her heart. And then she was just yelling. So people yell because they're ill-equipped to do their job. Did I say that? Yeah. How dare I ask the name of the teacher? Yeah, it was crazy.
Someone said, how many special education students can a regular classroom teacher have in the classroom?
4,000. 4,000. Yeah, there's not a cap. I would assume in most states there's some sort of recommendation for 30 or less, but I've seen school districts that have over 30 kids in a classroom in high school.
Why does an IEP only allow 1-hour meetings? Why can't we do longer?
Because they're poor IEP police. You can have an IEP till it's over. There's no IEP timeline unless you're, practicing for the Olympics. So I would love for everything to take 1 hour. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what they do with our 3-hour meeting. We have
3-hour tour.
Yeah. School is asking for access to medical records for ABA to integrate the strategies across the board.
Medical records are not ABA. Medical records are medical records. So if they're wanting to, collaborate with the amazing APA provider that you have, I would certainly give them consent and let them jump on a Zoom and talk about said cherub. But ABA records look very different than school-based records or an IEP. But I'm not giving you carte blanche to medical records.
Okay, and then I'm going to ask this one and pass it on to Shannon. This is your favorite question. Are you ready? Do you have any reasons not to sign the IEP?
I don't. So I'm going to sign, and I'm going to tell you why I'm signing what I'm signing. So when I pull records, let's say that I'm going to mediation or I'm going to file a state complaint or a federal complaint, and you have documents where the school-based members have signed and the parent hasn't signed because they were told to by their advocate or someone else, it looks like the parent is not collaborative. Because at some point your file might go to what we call a fact finder, which could be a hearing officer, it could be a mediation officer, it could be, there's certain states that have 2 tiers. OCR, it just looks like the parent didn't participate and the school participated. And so I want to make sure that my position is captured in the document, and whether it's saying why I'm not signing or, if the, special ed director had terrible bangs. When you have bad bangs, I don't think you should be allowed to be the special ed director. Is that wrong?
Okay, someone's asking, how do we get an advocate for a manifestation meeting?
So 3 ways to get an advocate. Your state probably has a list of advocates. I could reach out to your Department of Education. You could look at COPA, and then we have an amazing team of advocates that I have all personally trained for 8 million hours. And they will be as firm and stern as you need them to be.
Do you have any resources for academic goals and objectives?
So academic goals and objectives are based on your state standards, right? So you would look at what your state standards, and then where is the student's capacity, ability, and level as it relates to that state standard. So that should be pretty much identified through district assessments, through CBAs, through DLAs. Where are they in the range for reading and writing and math? And then you build them around that. It's very rare that you're going to have academic goals in science and social studies unless they're in a self-contained setting. But that's how you would get that.
How can I get my child switched from 504 to IEP? They say no because his testing was too high.
Okay, so if you're on a 504, you should have already triggered the special education testing. So again, I don't know the components of your testing. Too high, not a thing. So I have advocated for kiddos. One child was the salutatorian. I don't know when that is, but that's like the second smartest person in the class. So you can't be, there's no such thing as too high. Cognition, achievement, and grades, again, are only one component.
Is the parent concern the only place to capture your disagreement?
So the parent concerns for enhancing the education of your child are under IDEA 300.324, which lists the 4 requirements of developing, reviewing, and implementing an IEP. I'm going to capture my parent concerns in the deliberations if the district allows it. The district today, she said, "You talk so fast." That's because I have a lot to say. And so I'm going to respond, my complete response, once I receive a prior written notice from them. And I'll respond with my view of how the meeting went. Today at our meeting, when the yelling started, after she yelled at us, she asked if she could have a copy of my recording. I said, "Don't be ridiculous. I'll be sending that directly to my friends at the U.S. Department of Education office of civil rights, though."
Is a certificate of completion the same as a high school diploma?
It's different. So a certificate of completion has limitations about the content area that was taught to the student.
Is it typical that ESY is run by a speech therapist and not special ed teacher for preschool?
You know what? I don't even know how to spell typical. I feel like there's a Y in it, but who knows? ESY is either amazing or it's a bust usually. So hopefully it's run by special ed professionals that can serve your child during the summer.
Okay, we might need a little clarification on this question. What should we do if we're preschool intervention but no access to bathrooms?
Then you can't have any preschoolers. Yeah. Somebody keeps asking, I'm going to address sports and an IEP. So let's talk about UIL and the no pass, no play rule. Based on the student's acuity, you could have, before he fails or any of that, you could decide in the IEP meeting, should the student for some reason not be passing a content area when grades come around, that he would be exempt from the no pass, no play rule as long as he was making expected progress on his IEP goals. But you got to get that into the plan long before your cherub is not passing something.
While you're addressing that, can you go ahead and address ABA being written into an IEP?
So, I feel like the Tuesday night trick questions are always from AC. So ABA is not a requirement of the Individuals with Disability Education Act, nor is it a related service under IDEA. However, there are some states that do provide those services, a handful. So if you're in one of those states that has those persons, you could write it in there, but it's not hardly in any states. Are we going to tell them how one does become an advocate?
I was going to say someone has asked a couple of times, so why don't we tell them all the different training?
Let's do that.
Break it down, Karen. Break it down.
Break it down. So we have a virtual coming up, a live virtual with live humans, and then I'll be a live human, and we'll be live humaning together, April 15th and 16th. So whether you're in a bathtub in Miami, or I guess that would be a beach, or you're in an igloo in Alaska, you can log on. That'll be a 2-day training, 9 to 5 both days. That'll be exciting. And we always have on demand, so you could just start the 2-day training now. And then our next in-person is, I think it's like the 3rd-ish weekend of June.
The 16th and the 17th.
You know, I was just going to say that. I feel like it's the 16th and 17th. So we don't have any more lives this school year because I know that we all have to sit around eating salty and sugary snacks and trying to not disagree with people in an IEP meeting.
And then you got to tell them about the academy.
Oh, and then we have the academy, which you're all going to jump on in about 3.2 seconds at 8 o'clock every Tuesday. So we train for an hour on the law, and then the law. And then we open it up for questions because we want you to have what you need to be successful. We have hundreds of hours archived on the academy, thousands of different outfits with workbooks. We want you guys to be successful.
I mean, I feel like the outfits are the most important part, right?
I feel like that's, yeah. I have a blazer, and I'm not afraid to put it on.
It's a big deal. Okay, and then go ahead and tell them about the Mastermind and how they can access.
So we have a brand new Mastermind starting Monday the 27th. It's a 20-hour, 10-week training. It is for those that are in the profession of advocating or are about to be. The prerequisite is the 2-day, so you can get that cranked out, and that's capped. It's very intensive. We crush and break down our all things amazing under IDA, and really I will teach you play by play how I handle situations and amazing people at IEP meetings so that your kiddos and your clientele can have successful student outcomes.
Just you do so well just telling them all about that. So Token Cheat would like to know if you will write her a note for her absences.
Yes. Please forgive me. I was absent. I was online at talbots.com. I'll do better next time.
Okay, your friend Sarah, asked, what is your opinion on as needed? My child's movement breaks are as needed, and she's not getting them.
So as needed is not a civil right. So I just was prepping yesterday for an IEP for a 5-year-old, and it said has access to. What does that mean? As needed, up to, when asked for, with a good attitude. That a civil right is clean. So you just put in movement breaks, and you should have a movement break scheduled, certainly if a child needs one. And, they're going to have some flexibility, but I have a kiddo, I won't tell you where, Louisiana, and they said he could have breaks. And I said to the school-based members, you're not giving him his breaks. And she goes, yeah, that's right, because he's not asking respectfully. Oh, that was a good idea. Yeah. So I think that she was part of the respectfully police. So she doesn't have her badge yet. It's just a little plastic thing she got from the Office Depot, though.
Yes, gotta love Louisiana. How can someone hire one of your advocates?
Yeah, just reach out to advocate at specialeducationacademy.com. Somebody will put that in the thing.
Hey, you remember me and you were talking about Grace?
Yeah.
Yeah, Grace is on here. She says she registered for the Mastermind, but she didn't do the 2-day session. Grace, just email us.
Grace, just email us. Ask me if I ask for my, oh wait, that was really good. Somebody just said, ask me if I ask for my personal days respectfully. Yeah, Kiki, stop tilting your head when you ask. Yeah. They're not poodles, they're children. You don't have to sit before you get a treat.
Correct. So Roxanne said the daughter had the full evaluation for SPED and got her IEP, but they refused speech services.
¿Por qué? That's why in Spanish. Why? And I would make sure that they were tested and looked at all 9 areas of speech. If they are denying the speech, then ask for an independent educational evaluation at the expense of the district. Yeah, Kiki, just reach out to advocate at specialeducationacademy.com, and Alicia will let you email in body parts. She'll give you the address for that. So, Roxana, I wouldn't put up with that. We don't do that. And your hair looks great in your picture. I just want to say that. It's really what's important. Oh, she works for the district. Yeah. So probably 25% of my clients are school-based members. And when I tell you they treat school-based members worse, they treat them worse. So the wording for a parent to ask for a full evaluation is, "Dear school, this is my formal request for my child to have special education testing, areas of suspected disability or learning, attention, focus, language, and other needs. We look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent."
Okay, here's a question. It's been asked a couple times.
Oh, somebody just said, I'm sorry, Amy, Marcy Lipset. Is Marcy Lipset, like, we love her. We love Marcy. If you ever get to do a training or private training with Marcy Lipset, she is the Michigan and everywhere OG of all things civil rights. She's amazing.
Okay, ready?
Ready.
What is a 30-day IEP versus a regular IEP?
I don't know. It feels like, is that like decaf and regular? 30. I would like to have unleaded and then a bag of Cheetos. And then what do you want, Laura? You want a Slurpee? What is that? So an IEP is an IEP. It's an individualized education program. It is. Y'all can look it up. I know you're going to say it's a plan. It's a program. An IEP, I'm assuming that they're saying a 30-day IEP. Sounds like if you've transferred, then we have to match services as much as IEP line. Match services as closely as possible. Once the student's been there for 30 days, we can look at, sharing what we think would be appropriate in our district and do new testing if we need to.
My child's school wants me to change her IEP to a 504 plan. What do you recommend?
No. No. I think in 27 years, I've had 2 kids that were dismissed from special education. And I do about 500 IEPs a year. Both, a student has a disability. Only one, do you get services, supports, real legal protection, and working on receiving specially designed instruction from professionals above the general education teacher. So for a 504, I would say absolutely no. Not for my kids.
Okay, here's a question. I think it's in regards to the evaluation.
Yeah, what? There was a question bottleneck, ma'am. I'm going to need you to beep, back that out. Okay, go ahead. So Roxana keeps asking how to find an advocate. You can just shoot us an email at advocate@specialeducationacademy. Okay, now, Shannon, we are ready.
Okay. I think this is in regards to sending the written request to the school requesting evaluation. It said, does the letter need to be certified?
It needs to be an email. Dear staff, this is my formal request for my student to have special education testing. Areas of suspected disability are learning, attention, and other needs. We look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent. Hold on, Shannon. There's somebody in the back that has a question who's not even in the live. Yes, ma'am. You in the back. You had a question?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
It's for Shelby Ann.
Shelby Ann?
Yes, she said her child goes to a Spanish immersion school, but we don't have Spanish-speaking testing or people for evaluations. What can we do?
Yes. I run into that all the time. It is odd to me. We're so busy immersing people in immersions. So, yes, I agree. I don't know how you fix that. I liked Laura's fingernails that are Post-it notes. Have y'all seen that lady on the TikTok that does all the Kardashians? She does all of them, and then she has Chloe with her long Post-it notes, and she's like, did something happen? Anyway, y'all should, I don't know what her name is, but she is hysterical. Sorry.
I see her every time I log into your TikTok, so I know that you watch.
Yes, she's like, is this vegan? Did you not recycle? I almost got divorced this week over recycling. My lord. Are y'all recyclers?
Ma'am. Laura is trying to ask a question. She's got 2 of them written down.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, Laura, your question?
There are a couple that I want to ask tonight. Okay, so I've seen this one several times. Is it rare to be classified LD prior to 2nd grade?
I don't think it's rare. I just don't think that people ask for the right testing. I think people ask for dyslexia, and then they have a child identified with general ed dyslexia, which is not a specific learning disability. A specific learning disability needs special education. I think that parents are often told, just give us a minute, give us a second. Just, oh, it's kindergarten, it's 1st grade. He'll get it together, that sort of thing.
There was a question around this. I think it was, what do I do? But can you explain why a child would have 2 outside diagnoses of autism, but the school won't consider it?
So I don't know if the school didn't consider it. There has to be an educational need. So you absolutely can meet DSM-5 criteria for a disability and not have an educational need. An educational need means that you have a disability and it rises to the level of needing something more than the general ed teacher solely can provide. So that might be additional accommodations in a 504 or accommodation services and goals in an IEP.
All right, you ready to power through these last few before we jump on?
Yes.
Okay, when do I know it's time to dismiss from an IEP?
It would be very rare that you dismiss from an IEP absence of graduation.
All right. How do I demand private placement when the school has not shown enough expertise in diagnosis?
So out of district placement is based on the district's inability anywhere in the district to provide the student an educational benefit. It's a very hard threshold to overcome.
My son has an IEP. Can he be in general education?
Yeah, he can be in general education. He can be in the playground. He can be in the hall. He can be in special education. An IEP simply means that he has an individualized education program that rises to the level of more support and instruction than solely a general ed teacher can provide.
Can we request a district's attorney come to the IEP meeting?
You can, and I do. So I often prefer an attorney to come to the IEP meeting. It's going to be the discretion of the district, though.
If a child turns 18, can the district withhold information from the parent?
If the child turns 18 and the parent doesn't have guardianship, the parents have no rights as it relates to special education unless the student has invited the parent to the meeting.
How do I get a 504 with ADHD and anxiety? Something was denied, I'm guessing, an IEP.
So if there's an educational need, I'm going to fight for an IEP. If they denied that after testing, then I would ask for an IEE, an independent educational evaluation. But you could have ADHD and anxiety under a 504 with a behavior plan. You could have psych services and accommodations. And we'll take one more question.
Alicia, do you have one? No? Okay. What I saw different versions of this one, but what is the next step if the running records have not been kept? And then I also saw if they're not collecting data.
So we collect data because that's the way we implement an IEP. That's what we do in education is we collect data. So depending on where you are working with the district, if you are at the end of your rope, we certainly, we file OCR complaints all the time for school. It's called failure to implement under the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights. I probably have 100 complaints open right now. You have to file with great specificity, but there's a couple of routes that you could take. I always give the school district an opportunity to see if they can rectify the situation, if they can address the situation. Sometimes they will not. Okay, so I just had to do that jump thing at the end. Alicia's frowning. I think she needs to get Botox. Okay, you guys, thank you so much. And
we're all going to see you in the academy, right?
bop, mom brain forever. Okay, so we'll see you guys in the academy. If you need something, let us know, and we'll see you guys in the training. Remember, if we get it right for the child, we'll get it right for everybody.